So, okay. So, yeah, hello, good afternoon. I welcome you to the presentation in what is our group's name? Turku and AI in Society. And yeah, so today I want to have a presentation about the topic why crypto is still broken. Yeah? And especially when what's in relation to the AI topic, it's about the control of crypto tokens, and especially when the world turns even more into AI, the whole thing becomes even more complicated and tricky. So let's see how that works. So a few words about me. I had to update the slide from an old slide, and the age was still 33 when I have last time updated the slide. So I'm Martin Albert, I'm 44 years old. I used to be a chemist, and I have also a diploma in business economics, and I was many years working for the European Commission in Helsinki. And then already 2011 I discovered Bitcoin. Oh yeah, we need now this. I need to turn off these notifications in my phone. Okay, then since 2012 already, I'm full-time Bitcoin enthusiast, and I have basically participated in the Wild West when websites appeared, disappeared, people stealing your coins just by disappearing with a website. And now, of course, at that time, AI was not topic at all. Yeah? So AI was totally useless. The best AI could do was you could use a search function in the Office document or something like that. And yes, and yeah. Oh, it's distorted. I can be maybe okay. Anyway, the left side is a bit cut off. Let's see how that can be fixed. So okay. So then, what fascinated me already quite early time was the whole thing with the Bitcoin. Yeah, because it was designed as a system to transfer value from one person to another, with nobody in between, which was a very smart idea. It was invented in 2009 from this Satoshi Nakamoto. Nobody knows who the guy is, nobody needs to know, and that's the beauty of Bitcoin. Can be CIA, doesn't matter, it's open source, and can be secret bad guy, can be good guy, nobody knows who the guy is, but doesn't matter, it's an open source project. So then, how I always try to explain the Bitcoin to the normal people is I always have this real life example. Because real life is not my special topic, but I know how this Apple thing works. Yeah? I'm not Apple like the computer Apple, but so when I have an apple, the whole thing is very easy. Yeah? So I have an apple, and when I give you the apple, then it's very easy, I don't have it anymore. Yeah? So it's okay, it's my apple, I give it to you, okay, it's gone, it's no use. And then you can decide what to do with it, eat or whatever. And it's very easy, it's, let's say, real life, yeah? It's easy. But then as soon as you go to the digital world, it's more complicated, yeah? Because when I give you like a photo of an apple, and I'm sending it to you, it's not like, okay, I don't have it anymore, so I'm basically just sending you a copy. So I'm sending you a copy of the apple, and then you have an apple and I have an apple, which is very cool. But when you want to do this with money, for example, it's not very smart, because then I have the money and you have the money, we both have the money and everybody has money, and it would be nice, maybe that would be a good approach, but yeah, and this is why those people invented this ledger thing. The ledger thing is, you need to keep track who owns what. Yeah, so like, I have 5 apples, you have 3 apples, and when you give 2 apples to this guy, you need to have some guy, like, okay, I'm crossing this out, and now I do have 2 less, and you have this guy, yeah, and you have 2 more, and then, okay, yes. And normally, of course, like when you have this, like with the bank or something, you need to trust the guy, because the guy who is taking care of this ledger thing, he has all the control, and can say, I will just put 2 more apples on my account, and I don't know. So like, you need to trust this guy that he's doing a good accounting job. And now the whole idea of Bitcoin is you just copy this to a peer-to-peer network. And peer-to-peer network, what's that? The idea is very simple. Yeah, it's like when you go to Facebook, for example. Yeah, so I'm adding 7 people as my friends. So I only know 7 people. That's all I need to know. I don't want to know more people. And then the other guy, which I know, also knows maybe 7 people, but maybe not the same as me, and the other guy, then also. And then you can always show that when you know 7 people, and the other guy also knows 7 people, and the other guy also knows 7 people, you are connecting with the whole world via, I think, maximum 7 corners on average or something. Of course, you can also have like isolated spots, and this is when basically peer-to-peer means people are individuals and are interacting with each other, which means nobody here is the boss. Yeah, so this guy is not the boss, this guy is not the boss, and there's nobody having control over anything. Everybody's a scammer, everybody is a bad guy. That's how real life works, yeah? All the bad guys. But nobody is more powerful than the others. They're all the same pairs, and they have to now agree on some rules. And the idea is now, when you have this ledger, everybody gets a copy. And nobody trusts each other. So everybody is a scammer, everybody is a bad guy, everybody wants to make more money than anyone else. And so that's the whole idea. So you have basically this whole ledger with who has how many apples, copies to everybody. And I mean, the technical details are a bit more complicated, but basically everybody's updating the whole thing at the same time, and then everybody agrees or disagrees or whatever. And when, let's say, the majority agrees, this is adopted into the kind of truth, because of course everybody disagrees. No, I have 5 million more. I want this, and everybody wants to cheat in the system, but nobody can't, because you need the majority in a sense. And of course, on the computer world, the majority means because everybody can make 500 email addresses or something like that. So majority means the majority of mining power, or the majority of calculation power, because this you cannot just create out of nothing. Yeah? And the idea is, we have just a rule set. You can participate or not participate, and then you get, as a reward for participating, you get this kind of virtual apples, which nobody actually needs, but maybe some people want them. And yeah, that's it. Yeah? That's the whole idea. And this is why it was simple enough that I could understand it in good old times. And the cool thing is, we are now going to the AI world. So we don't even touch the problems from there yet. Yeah? But the whole thing, when you go to the internet, and AI is also mostly internet and people doing stuff, but when you now go into the internet, you're communicating with tons of decentralized pairs, and as soon as you can send something from one person to another, it's decentralized. And so you have now built this very cool system, but then you ask, okay, so what? What do you do with this stuff? It's basically, yeah. So then how does a Bitcoin transaction work in detail? So the general principle is always like, I take a certain amount of this kind of Bitcoins, I'm putting them into a transaction as an input, and then there are some outputs. And then, because you have basically 2 pairs of keys, you have a public key and a private key, and it's like a post box. Like when you have a post box, you say, here, this is my address. Everybody knows I'm living here in this kind of street. And with the private key, it's only the key to open the post box, which only you have. And then when you can sign this transaction here with a key that only you have, then you can prove that you are the sender, and you can verify it basically. And the whole thing is then basically public, because you need to know publicly who's sending what to whom, because it needs to be verified by all this big peer-to-peer network. And then only when the majority of the network says, yeah, this is legit and this is valid, then it will be confirmed. And yeah, and this is totally different to like a normal bank transaction. So when you have like a normal bank transaction, you're always connecting like the person with a bank account. And then only the bank knows all the information. So the bank knows who is the sender, who is the receiver, and only the bank knows about who is sending what to whom, because they are in charge of this ledger, which we have seen. Yeah? And with Bitcoin, it's the other way around. So you don't know who is sending what to whom. You only know these addresses, of course, but it's not known who is behind that. But on the other way around, everything is super transparent, and you can see which address is sending to what. And also, one person can have unlimited bank accounts in the Bitcoin network in that sense. And yes. And now let's go to the core of the problem. Yeah? The problem is always the following. Yeah? I'm this guy here, and I have some money. So here, money is $4, it's reasonable amount. And now I want to put this, normally when I want to deal with this in the real world, I need to always put this on the bank. And then what happens? I don't have this money anymore, so you see it's gone. Yeah? It's not gone because it's with somebody else, it's with the bank. And in the bank and in real life, the problem is always when somebody wants my money, whom are they contacting? They never go to me, so hey, because I have no money, they always go to the bank. So they always go to the bank, and the bank says, no, you don't get this money anymore. And then whoever wants the money, I'm not saying this is the government, it can also be your ex-wife, doesn't matter. They take the money not from you, they always take it from there. So you get some of a title and then say, hey, the bank, here's bank account, give me that $4. Okay, you can have that. Yes. And then you say, okay, now we go to Bitcoin. Everything is super great, we have solved all this problem, we have decentralized peer-to-peer exchange, you can create unlimited keys. And then you have the same problem again, because you have again some kind of exchange service, whatever, and you have the same problem. Yeah? You just replace the bank, what's that? With an exchange. The same problem as before. Yeah? You say, hey, I have this super cool Bitcoin, it's super decentralized, I can control it myself, and whoa, yeah, everything's cool, but then you just say, hey, I want to now use it, and I just put it somewhere on some exchange, and then how does it work? The same way as before. When somebody wants your money, bitcoins, virtual apples, doesn't matter, they just go to the exchange and say here, and it's even worse. And when I started with this Bitcoin stuff, there was no travel rule, there was not anything of that stuff. You could just use exchanges and whatever, but the problem was always like, what happens with this exchange thing here? Yeah, it's the same problem. You still give up control, and then, for example, I once had bitcoins at Bitstamp, for example, and then they just take the exchange. And then it's always your luck if the provider still has enough money to pay you back or whatever, and it's the same problem as before. And you have invented Bitcoin, but you have not won anything, yeah? And so when you want to avoid this whole problem, you can of course say, yeah, I don't use this kind of exchange stuff, I just use the keys by myself. But it's the same problem because you need to be able to deal with this stuff. Yeah? So where would I store my coin? Yeah? I can either put it on my computer, and I did this in the beginning, and then I just got hacked. Yeah? So like you can be a super smart guy like me, but you still get hacked. Yeah? Because you want to install some games, and then there was a virus, and then you just get your coin stolen. So personal computer is always a bit tricky. Then you can of course have this online wallet service. And there's always a problem. As soon as you go to an online wallet, you need to trust the guy. And I mean, whom would you trust when not yourself? Yeah, like trusting the online wallet service can be a good idea, can be a bad idea. Of course, you can say this is government regulated, but yeah, you can still disappear the coins just because you're regulated doesn't help from that. Then service providers. They also, most of the time, they have unencrypted keys, everybody can see them, server can be hacked. Of course, you can put them offline on a piece of paper, but then again, you lose the paper, maybe your house burns down because you smoked too much weed, or I don't know what happens. So you can always lose the keys. And but still, of course, the general problem is when it's not your keys, it's not your coin. So when you give these keys to somebody else, you're just losing the money, and you give up the control of the money. And so what are the problems here now? Yeah, so like, private key handling is super complicated. Do you know how to handle private key? No, it's very difficult. You need to have hash values, whatever, and then you need to save them somewhere. It's very difficult. And so even like super centralized exchanges like this FTX, they always lose trust and just disappear with the money. And if you just want to handle everything by yourself, it's super complicated. Like P2P transaction, it's also super complicated. And even today, what is today, 2026? It's still super complicated when you try to install a crypto wallet to your phone. Yeah? Like it's like you need to have the right, I don't know, with Apple, I think they're banning certain wallets, or I don't even know how that works, but having the whole thing, you need to know also how to deal with these apps and so on. So it's not for everybody. And so now we have even 10 years later, we have even more problems. Yeah, this kind of AI-driven crypto security risks. Yeah, for example, when you have coins at an exchange provider, and they always ask you to do a KYC. And maybe 5 years back this was no problem, you had to show your ID card, but nowadays you have this kind of super hyper realistic deep fake stuff, so everybody can just say, hey, give me the money, I'm Martin, even though I'm not. Yeah, so like you can more easily create those kind of fake profiles or deep fakes. You can have this, when you call someone, yeah, to have this kind of, hey, we have your voice recognition. And then you can even create voice over deepfake AI stuff. Yeah? It's getting more and more attack vectors, which you didn't have before. And then also, of course, you can have AI-powered social engineering using all kinds of personal data. So, like, of course, you can browse databases far more easier. And also, like with AI, they have huge databases. They know a lot of stuff. They have, for example, connection to AI first day, 0 day exploit databases. And when there's anywhere some kind of exploit, it's much easier with AI to exploit those kind of things. And still, of course, the AI doesn't break the crypto. So it's not like this kind of SHA algorithm gets broken or anything. It's more like the user gets broken because it can be impersonated. You can deal much more with the information you get from everywhere, from databases. And then you also have much more this kind of market manipulation. So you have all kind of AI networks, all kind of stuff which can create fake blog articles and can create all this kind of news, fake news, which say this coin is going to the moon or I don't even know what. And you can also like use much better trading bots, which pretend to be like real traders and stuff like that. And because all this kind of crypto stuff, it's not anything like real money backed by anything. You can just the price is basically totally subjective. And this is why it's much easier to manipulate the whole thing, which also, of course, creates risk. And you can, of course, also use it for your advantage. You can basically process stuff much easier with the AI tools. And when you have more speed and data, you can also eliminate inefficiencies. And the problem is, of course, when you have your coin somewhere which is super slow, then you're losing against the AI or against the AI competitors. And when you're slower than the AI, you are basically the product which is getting played. And there's also like one thing with this identity, because when you don't have control over your own coins, because you're using a third-party provider, then of course, all these identity attacks are much easier. As you can see, I mean, this live stream is real, but you could also have easily a fake live stream with some kind of AI. And you have seen, I'm sure, this kind of, what's the name? Instagram, I think 90% by now is AI content. And you don't even see if it's a real person so much anymore. I mean, you can still see it, but just wait 2-3 more years, and I'm sure it's like, and I just still remember these first videos from this kind of, there were these kind of apps where you could just make a music video from yourself with a mouth, and you could really see this was very badly made. But now, 5-6 years later, it's very easy. You can just create very good content. And I mean, even for example, Trump, when he says, no, this was not me, this was just an AI, you can't even say if it was maybe really AI or something like that. And but of course, the problem is with crypto, when the money is gone, it's gone. So you cannot just say, okay, this was a fake. This is when the money is gone, it's basically gone forever. And what's that? AI-driven regulatory pressure. Yeah. So like the problem is, of course, also when the government starts using AI, they can monitor everything much better. So you can basically increase the whole surveillance. Like in the past, government had to always ask from one service provider, can you please give the data? But now when you have like really high quality, let's say tools, they, of course, regulators can also use that. And There's also like the risk of restrictions on self-custody and also privacy, because of course now the self-custody is also getting attacked over time. And yes, so then of course, I'm sure you have already heard about those kind of tools where humans work for the AI. So the AI is creating tasks in some online platform, and then the human gets some crypto reward when they fulfill some task. So that means like the AI has the whole overview, and they are sending the humans around and paying them with their artificial mind money, which is an interesting thing to experience. I'm curious how this works, because I also would like to make some tasks for the AI when I get paid. Yeah, why not? And yeah, so then of course, the more stuff gets automated and the more AI can even interact with other AIs and then integrate other humans which don't even know that they are played for those kind of things, then everything gets more and more automated, and this of course also increases risks for abuse and for and in general this gives also more attack vectors. So okay, then very short the solution. And the solution, I don't have the solution, but I always say, because when the world gets more and more complicated, I always say here, kids, yeah, keep it simple, or keep it smart and simple, or keep it simple stupid. It's very easy. So when everything gets off control, I always say, hey, come on, it's too complicated. Just keep it simple, yeah. And that means, for example, there's this very easy to use tools. In this bit address, this is something which I always use myself. You can run this locally on the computer. It's a script. It doesn't require internet. You just use this bit address org. It's a JavaScript tool. You can just take the browser offline. You can just copy this JavaScript file. And you can just move the mouse a bit around, and it's basically just creating random numbers. And then you can just create your own Bitcoin keys. So you have like a public key and a private key. You don't need anything fancy. You just in theory, you can just throw a dice 256 times, and you have a big number, and this is also your Bitcoin private key. That's all you need, and nothing is in contact with AI, nothing online, nothing can be monitored, of course, by the blockchain when you want to use it, but it can not be compromised. It's a very easy tool, very easy to use, and also, because also in the past I tried to be super safe with multi-signature and multiple keys distributed anywhere. Most of the time, I just decided I keep stuff on the phone, because when my phone gets stolen or whatever taken, I have other problems, because you can just go through my ChatGPT history, or I don't even know what stuff. So there's much more damage than the €5 in crypto I have on my phone. Yeah? So I of course don't use it for 20 million, but for smaller amounts, the phone is smart and simple, and you can just use it. And on the phone, you anyway have already all the two-factor keys, you have all the online banking. So when you just want to use it, it's the, in my opinion, simplest way. And when you have it like locally on the phone, and it's not exposed to any big databases, it's so-called mobile self-custody. It's, in my opinion, the best balance of security and usability. You have the phone anyway with you. When you lose your phone, you're anyway screwed. In that sense, using the €5 in crypto doesn't make a big difference. And anyway, all your identity is basically there. Then there's a very interesting method of recovery. For example, I'm always too dumb also myself to recover the cryptos, because I don't keep paper sheets or whatever. And there's a so-called method which is called social recovery, which means you can take this whole private key, you split it into 3 parts, and you just give it to 3 trusted people, and none of those trusted people has access to the money by themselves, but they can just, when I think all 3 together or something, agree, then, or like when one of them agrees, they can just recover the key for you. In practical terms, it works something like you get an SMS for some two-factor, you enter your password, and you have to appoint a guard, and the guard means some guy you trust enough to recover your key. He doesn't have like the full key, but he has only part of the key, so he cannot run with your money either. And then, when the guard approves that you get your money back, and you trust the guy, then the whole thing gets unlocked, and you can just set up the recovery yourself. It's much easier than taking the wallet. And then what is actually happening, all you need is just a front end, because when the keys are all on your phone, you're basically a self-custodian. You don't have a service provider taking care of it. And all you need is just a front end, which allows you to sign those transactions on the keys which are on your phone. Yeah? And this is why we give out the Bitterlo wallet for free. With whatever 13 years of my own experience where I lost too many coins. This is, in my opinion, a very good solution. You have like a secure gateway, because all the stuff is on your phone. When you use your phone, as I said, it's screwed, but you don't lose the money because you can do the recovery with the social recovery. And this is basically a good solution when you really want to have a good usability between security and safety and privacy and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, that was already the presentation. And thank you very much for watching.